There is something captivating about shadows. They hold secrets, evoke fear, and reveal truths we often overlook. In Tolkien's world, shadows take on a deeper meaning. They are both the consequence of creation's brilliance and the echoes of choice. Welcome to part 3 of our exploration into the profound symbolism and spiritual underpinnings of The Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's wider legendarium. In part 2, we ventured through the triumphs and tragedies of Middle-earth's inhabitants. We witnessed the resilience of men, the quiet heroism of hobbits, the starlit sorrow of the elves, and the unbreakable will of the dwarves. Now we must confront the forces that sought to unravel this harmony, the manifestation of evil and the seduction of power. Tolkien's portrayal of evil is as nuanced as it is harrowing. In his legendarium, evil is not merely an external force, it is the corruption of what was once good. Nowhere is this clearer than in the origin of the Orcs, twisted reflections of life itself. Legend tells that the first Orcs were elves, captured and tortured by Melkor, the dark Ainur who serves as Tolkien's conception of the devil, later known as Morgoth, the first Dark Lord of Middle-earth. Stripped of their light and dignity, they were grotesquely transformed into parodies of their former selves. Morgoth's corruption defiled creation, turning the Orcs into manifestations of lost potential and a grim echo of his desire to mock and subvert the divine order. As the shadow archetype, the Orcs are being stripped of individuality, driven by hatred for the very light they once belonged to, embodying the tragic loss of their original purpose. Yet, even within this darkness, there is a lingering question. Can redemption exist for the irredeemable? Tolkien's works suggest that while some beings, like the Orcs, may be severed from grace due to the depths of their corruption, the concept of redemption itself remains central to his philosophy. The Orcs do not merely serve their master's will, they are bound to it, mirroring the devastating reality of dehumanization. Yet Tolkien's narrative reminds us through characters like Boromir that individual choices matter, that even in the face of temptation, there is room for redemption. Boromir's betrayal, when he tries to take the ring from Frodo in a moment of weakness, exemplifies how noble intentions can be twisted by fear and desire. Yet his redemption comes swiftly when he sacrifices himself to defend Merry and Pippin, dying with honor and courage. His story illustrates that even those who falter can find grace and reclaim their purpose. Unlike Boromir, who found redemption through sacrifice, the Orcs become a cautionary symbol not of inevitable damnation, but of the dangers of losing oneself to fear and hatred. They serve as a reminder of what can happen when the will is utterly consumed by darkness, highlighting the fragility of free will and the hope for grace in those who resist corruption. They reflect the horrors of war, where individuality is erased and beings become tools of destruction. Yet Tolkien's world never fully extinguishes the hope that choice and grace can endure. The character of Gollum deepens this exploration of corruption and duality. He is not wholly evil nor wholly good, but a fractured self, caught between Smeagol's lingering innocence and the insidious pull of the ring. The ring, far more than a simple artifact, becomes a burden entwined with his fate, a reflection of the soul's war between longing and fear. Frodo embodies mercy and resilience, but Gollum personifies pity and terror. His story poses a haunting question. How close are we to becoming what we despise when obsession takes hold? This paradox crystallizes in Smeagol's tragic choice to give in to Gollum's darker nature, leading to the ring's destruction. In Tolkien's mythos, fate and free will dance together, shaping ruin and paradoxically redemption. The One Ring itself is the ultimate symbol of domination. Inscribed with the words, "One ring to rule them all," it represents an insatiable hunger for control. Control not just over others, but over the very fabric of existence. Though it promises boundless power, it ensnares its bearer in chains of despair. In this way, the ring becomes a false beacon of transformation, akin to a corrupted philosopher's stone. Beyond Middle-earth, it serves as a metaphor for real-world authoritarian systems, totalitarian regimes that mask oppression as order while eroding freedom and autonomy. Frodo's burden is not just physical, it is a spiritual trial, an unrelenting test of his will and resilience. Ultimately, it reveals that true strength does not come from imposing control, but from embracing vulnerability, showing that surrender is not weakness, but an act of trust in something greater than the self. A reminder that the true triumph lies in letting go rather than seizing power. Sauron, the creator of the ring, represents the tyrant of submission and control. He is the archetypal deceiver, a being whose power stems from domination and fear. Once a Maya under the service of Aule, Sauron was seduced by Morgoth's rebellion and became his most devoted lieutenant, inheriting his master's will to dominate and corrupt. Sauron's desire to impose his will over all creation reflects the lingering shadow of Morgoth's influence, blind to the autonomy of others, and fueled by a need to remake the world in his image. He embodies the shadow of submission, the belief that obedience can be coerced through terror and absolute authority, a chilling echo of Morgoth's original defiance of the divine order. Saruman, by contrast, represents the tyrant of knowledge and pride. Like Sauron, Saruman is also a Maya, originally sent to guide and protect Middle-earth. However, his fall begins with his belief that wisdom alone entitles him to reshape the world. Influenced by Sauron's growing power, Saruman's initial intentions are corrupted as he becomes ensnared by the very darkness he sought to control. His intellect becomes a tool of manipulation, and his pride blinds him to the insidious hold Sauron has over him. He seduces with reason, convincing others and himself that his betrayal is justified for the sake of a higher order, ultimately becoming a tragic mirror of the tyranny he once opposed. These two figures reveal the dual faces of tyranny: Sauron's domination through fear and submission, and Saruman's conquest through arrogance and reason. Together, they illustrate the dangers of power unchecked by humility, showing that tyranny can wear the guise of both brute force and cold logic. Yet their downfall is inevitable. Both Sauron and Saruman succumb to the blindness inherent in tyranny, the inability to comprehend free will. They believe that domination is absolute, failing to grasp that even the smallest act of defiance can unravel their grand designs. It is the unassuming hobbits, free from the lust for power, who become the linchpins of their undoing. In this, Tolkien presents a profound spiritual lesson. True strength lies not in the accumulation of power, but in the quiet refusal to be controlled. The destruction of the One Ring is not merely the end of a quest. It is an act of liberation through sacrifice. Frodo's journey to Mount Doom is a metaphor for the spiritual pilgrimage, a path that requires surrender, not conquest. But it is not Frodo's strength alone that ensures victory. Tolkien's portrayal of eucatastrophe, the unexpected joy that emerges from despair, shines here through the pity he showed Gollum and his recognition of shared brokenness. By sparing Gollum, Frodo unknowingly sets the stage for salvation. This concept emphasizes that the destruction of the ring is not a triumph of might or mastery, but an act of grace, showing that mercy and compassion, even when fraught with pain, can reshape fate in unimaginable ways. Yet the ring also represents the cyclical nature of temptation. In each generation, the desire for control resurfaces. The symbolism of the all-seeing eye is a chilling reminder of surveillance and the erasure of autonomy. In a world obsessed with control, Tolkien warns of the insidious nature of power. It begins within, as the quiet corruption of self. The ring's allure lies in the promise of immortality, but what it offers is a life stripped of meaning, a dehumanization not only of subjects, but of the self. In contrast to the destructive power of the ring, Tolkien presents the archetype of the good king, a leader who heals rather than dominates. Aragorn, the heir of Isildur, is this archetype personified. His journey is not one of ambition, but of service. As the rightful king, Aragorn wields power not as a weapon, but as a means of restoration. In the narrative, he is the rightful king by birthright, descended from the line of Isildur. However, archetypally, the rightful king represents more than lineage. It signifies the one truly worthy to wield power through humility, wisdom, and service. The reforging of Narsil, the sword that was broken into Andúril, symbolizes the healing of legacy and the reclaiming of purpose. Much like King Arthur's retrieval of Excalibur affirms his destiny and worthiness to lead. Both swords represent more than weapons. They are emblems of the rightful king's unity with his people and his calling to restore balance and justice. The moment of his coronation is not an assertion of dominance, but a cosmic restoration, a return to balance. This theme of restoration is echoed in characters like Frodo, Éowyn, and Faramir. Frodo's journey is one of profound transformation, but it's also a reminder of human frailty. Despite his extraordinary resilience, he succumbs to the ring's power at the last moment, illustrating the immense weight of his burden. Yet even in his failure, Frodo plays a crucial role in the ring's destruction. His journey allows others, like Sam and Gollum, to contribute to the ultimate restoration of Middle-earth, guided by the unseen hand of divine providence that weaves even the smallest acts into the larger tapestry of redemption. Eowyn, the shield maiden of Rohan, finds her own restoration not through valor on the battlefield alone, but through the discovery of her deeper purpose and capacity for healing. After facing the Witch King and overcoming the shadow of despair, she turns toward a life of nurturing and growth, embracing peace alongside Faramir. Faramir himself, often overshadowed by his brother Boromir, demonstrates a quiet strength rooted in wisdom and integrity. By choosing to resist the lure of the ring and proving his worth through compassion rather than brute force, he restores hope not only to Gondor, but also to his own fractured sense of self. Together, these characters reflect Tolkien's vision of restoration as a deeply personal process that radiates outward, transforming both individuals and the world they inhabit. In this war of light and shadow, Tolkien's narrative reveals that the most profound battles are fought within. The forces of darkness seek to dominate the outer world, but the true fight for freedom occurs in the soul. Each act of mercy, humility, and resilience becomes a note in the great symphony of creation, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, light endures. Tolkien's impact on humanity is enduring because he does not offer simple answers or mere escapism. He invites us into a world where the stakes are not just epic, but existential. Through his legendarium, we are reminded that the choices we make, to forgive, to resist, to hope, shape the story of our lives and echo in eternity. As we close this final chapter of our exploration, let us remember that Tolkien's world is not merely a fantasy. It is a mirror held up to our own, reflecting both our struggles and hopes. His stories remind us that we are participants in an ongoing narrative where courage, mercy, and resilience shape our reality and define what it means to endure. The road stretches ever on, not as a path to conquest, but as an invitation to confront the shadows within, to choose forgiveness over vengeance, and to rise not as rulers but as guardians of light. This journey speaks to the profound truth that victory is not found in domination, but in the quiet grace of compassion and unity. In Tolkien's world and our own, this enduring legacy reminds us that true greatness is measured not by what we take, but by what we give, and that even in the darkest times, the smallest acts of kindness, humility, and bravery can change the course of history. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.